The silver ship cut through the darkness of space like a blade through silk. Inside the vessel, Dr. Zethara pressed her three-fingered hand against the viewing port and watched the blue-green world grow larger. Her skin shifted from pale yellow to excited orange stripes as she studied the planet below. Another death world, she whispered to herself. The scanner readings had been clear from the moment they entered this system. Massive life forms roamed the surface. Deadly creatures filled the oceans. This planet Earth was exactly what the Galactic Council expected to find in this remote corner of the galaxy. Behind her, the rest of the xenobiology team worked at their stations. Captain Thyssen, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin, studied the tactical displays. His people had seen many worlds like this one. Worlds where huge predators ruled and smaller creatures lived in fear. "The biosignatures are incredible," said Dr. Kelmori, the team's scanner specialist. Her insect-like head tilted as she read the data. "I count at least 50 different apex predator species. Some of them are enormous." Dr. Zethara walked over to look at the readings. The numbers made her orange stripes turn darker with worry. In the oceans, creatures over 20 feet long hunted in the depths. On land, massive 4-legged beasts with sharp teeth and claws prowled through green forests. Flying creatures with wingspans wider than their ship soared through the atmosphere. "Standard protocol for death worlds," Captain Thyssen announced to the crew. His voice carried the weight of experience. "We observe from orbit first. We identify the dominant species. Then we make contact with the most intelligent predators and establish council authority." This was how it always worked. The Galactic Council had perfected this system over thousands of years. They would find the biggest, strongest, most dangerous creatures on a planet. Those creatures would become the local representatives. The smaller, weaker species would learn their place in the galactic order. Dr. Zethara pulled up the detailed scans on her workstation. The images that appeared made her skin flash bright orange with excitement. In Earth's oceans, she saw creatures with rows of razor-sharp teeth. The scanner called them great white sharks. Some were over 20 feet long and weighed more than a small spacecraft. On land, the readings showed even more impressive predators. Bears that stood 12 feet tall on their back legs, cats with fangs like daggers that could take down prey 3 times their size, massive reptiles with jaws strong enough to crush metal. "Look at this one," Dr. Kelmori called out. She had found something in the data that made her compound eyes widen. The scanners show a creature called a saltwater crocodile, 23 feet long, bite force of over 3,000 pounds per square inch, and it's been basically unchanged for millions of years. Captain Thyssen moved his 4 arms in a gesture of respect. "An apex predator that has achieved evolutionary perfection. Fascinating." The team spent hours cataloging Earth's impressive collection of deadly creatures. Each new discovery reinforced their understanding of this world. This was clearly a planet where only the strongest survived. The food chain was dominated by creatures that could hunt, kill, and consume anything in their path. But then Dr. Zethara noticed something strange in the scanner data. Among all these impressive predators, the readings showed another species. These creatures were much smaller than the apex predators. They had no natural weapons like claws or fangs. Their skin was soft and unprotected. They moved slowly compared to the deadly hunters around them. "Captain," she said, her skin turning a puzzled shade of purple, "there's another species down there. The scanners classify them as bipedal mammals, but the readings don't make sense." Captain Thyssen joined her at the workstation. Together they studied the data about these strange creatures. The beings stood upright on 2 legs. They had no fur or scales for protection. Their teeth were flat and dull. They had no claws, no venom, no natural armor. "Herbivores," Captain Thyssen said with certainty. "Probably a prey species that developed some basic intelligence. It happens sometimes on death worlds. The pressure of constant predation can force rapid brain development in prey animals." Dr. Kelmori buzzed her wings in agreement. "The apex predators probably keep them as a food source. Smart prey lasts longer and reproduces more efficiently." This made perfect sense to the research team. They had seen similar situations on other worlds. Sometimes prey species developed just enough intelligence to be useful to their predators. The smart ones might even be kept in protected areas or used for simple tasks. But as Dr. Zethara continued studying the scans, she found more puzzling information. These bipedal creatures seemed to be everywhere on the planet. They lived in complex structures that the scanners couldn't quite understand. Some of these structures were enormous, covering vast areas of land. The distribution pattern is unusual, she reported to the captain. These prey creatures have spread across the entire planet. They're in every climate zone, from the coldest regions to the hottest deserts. Captain Thyssen frowned with his four-armed species equivalent of confusion. That's unexpected. Most prey species stick to safe areas. They avoid the hunting grounds of apex predators. The xenobiology team spent more time studying the strange distribution pattern. The bipedal creatures weren't hiding from the apex predators at all. In fact, the scans showed them living in close proximity to the most dangerous hunters on the planet. I'm reading bipedal settlements near large populations of apex predators, Dr. Kelmori reported. They're practically living on top of each other. Dr. Zethara's skin cycled through several colors as she processed this information. Nothing about these readings matched what they knew about predator-prey relationships. Prey animals didn't voluntarily live next to their hunters. They certainly didn't spread out across an entire planet filled with deadly creatures. Perhaps they're under some form of control, Captain Thyssen suggested. The apex predators might have developed advanced hunting strategies. They could be managing their prey populations across the entire world. This theory made more sense to the team. It would explain why the bipedal creatures were distributed so widely. The planet's apex predators had probably developed sophisticated hunting techniques. They were managing their food sources like farmers manage crops. Dr. Zethara nodded and made notes in her report. Preliminary assessment. Planet Earth is a standard death world dominated by highly evolved apex predators. Local prey species show signs of managed intelligence, possibly maintained by predator species for enhanced food production. The research team prepared their standard first contact protocols. They would approach the apex predators as the planet's rightful rulers. The bipedal prey species would be treated as livestock or servants depending on their level of usefulness. Captain Thyssen ordered the ship to move into a standard observation orbit. We'll monitor the apex predators for 3 days, he announced. We need to identify which species is most suitable for council membership. Then we'll make formal contact. As the ship settled into orbit around Earth, Dr. Zethara continued studying the scanner data. Something about the readings still bothered her, but she couldn't identify what it was. The numbers all made sense according to standard xenobiology protocols, yet somehow the pieces didn't quite fit together. She pushed the feeling aside and focused on preparing her preliminary report for the Galactic Council. Soon they would make contact with Earth's apex predators and bring another death world into the galactic community. It was routine work that she had done many times before. None of them suspected that their fundamental assumptions about Earth were completely wrong. Dr. Zethara watched the communication board light up with incoming signals from the planet below. After 3 days of observation, the xenobiology team had decided to make contact with what they believed were Earth's harmless prey species. The plan was simple. Establish communication with the bipedal mammals first to learn about the planet's apex predator hierarchy. The signals are sophisticated, Dr. Kelmori reported, her compound eyes reflecting surprise. These creatures are using complex mathematical patterns and digital encoding. Captain Thyssen's forearms moved in confusion. Prey species with advanced communication? That's unusual. The team had expected simple responses from the bipedal creatures, maybe basic tool use or primitive language. Instead, the signals coming from Earth showed mathematical concepts that rivaled some council member species. They're responding to our mathematical greeting with their own equations, Dr. Zethara said, her skin cycling through puzzled purple hues. And they're including what appears to be scientific data about their planet. The communication continued for several hours. The Earth creatures sent detailed information about their world's chemistry, physics, and biology. They included star charts showing their understanding of the local solar system. Most surprising of all, they sent images of their technology. Captain, you need to see this, Dr. Kelmori called out. They're showing us pictures of structures that appear to be spacecraft. The images that appeared on their screens made the entire crew fall silent. The bipedal creatures had built machines that could fly, not just simple aircraft, but vehicles designed for space travel. Some of the images showed these creatures actually leaving their planet's atmosphere. Captain Thyssen stared at the display for a long moment. This doesn't match any known prey species behavior pattern. Dr. Zethara pulled up their earlier scans of Earth's apex predators. She compared them to the images being sent by the bipedal creatures. Something wasn't adding up. If these small, soft creatures were prey animals, How had they developed technology while surrounded by deadly predators? We need to establish direct communication, she told the captain. There's something about this planet that we're not understanding. The communication team worked to establish a real-time conversation with the creatures below. Within hours, they had achieved basic translation protocols. The first words from Earth came through their speakers in clear, understandable language. Greetings from Earth, I am Ambassador Sarah Chen, representing the United Nations of Earth. We welcome you to our world and hope to establish peaceful relations with the Galactic Council. The entire bridge crew went silent. Ambassador, United Nations, these terms suggested political organization and diplomatic experience. Prey species didn't have ambassadors or united governments. Dr. Zethara found her voice first. Greetings, Ambassador Chen. I am Dr. Zethara of the Galactic Council Xenobiology Survey Team. We are here to establish contact with your planet's dominant species. There was a pause before Ambassador Chen responded. That would be us, Dr. Zethara. Humans are the dominant species on Earth. We're honored to make contact with the Galactic Council. Captain Thyson's forearms began moving in agitated patterns. Humans. The small, soft bipedal creatures claimed to be the dominant species. This went against everything the Council knew about Death World ecosystems. Ambassador Chen, Dr. Zethara said carefully, our scans show numerous large predator species on your world, creatures with significant advantages in size, strength, and natural weapons. How do humans maintain dominance over such creatures? Another pause. Then Ambassador Chen's voice came through with what the translation software identified as amusement. Dr. Zethara, I think there might be some confusion about Earth's ecosystem. Would you like us to send you more detailed information about human civilization and our relationship with other species? Over the next several hours, the humans transmitted vast amounts of data. The information painted a picture that made no sense to the Council survey team. According to the human data, they had indeed achieved dominance over every other species on their planet, but the methods they described were impossible to believe. The humans claimed they had developed tools and weapons that made them more dangerous than any natural predator. They showed images of cities covering vast areas of land where millions of humans lived safely. They sent pictures of humans traveling across oceans in massive vessels, flying through the air in metal craft, and even walking on their planet's moon. This has to be some form of elaborate deception, Captain Thyson said. Prey species don't develop this level of technology. They don't build civilizations. They hide from predators. Dr. Kelmori was studying the human data streams. Captain, the mathematical and scientific concepts they're showing us are genuine. This level of knowledge can't be faked. They understand physics, chemistry, and biology at levels that match advanced council civilizations. Dr. Zethara felt her skin shifting through colors she had never experienced before. The evidence was overwhelming, but it contradicted everything she knew about planetary ecosystems. How could such small, physically weak creatures achieve dominance over apex predators that could tear them apart with ease? Ambassador Chen, she said, perhaps you could help us understand something. Our scans show large carnivorous creatures in your oceans. Creatures our instruments classify as apex predators. How do humans deal with such dangerous species? The ambassador's response came with more of that strange amusement. You mean sharks? They're actually quite fascinating creatures. We study them, protect their habitats, and some of our marine biologists even swim with them for research purposes. Swimming with apex predators? For research? Dr. Zethara's skin turned a deep shade of confused blue. You swim with them? Voluntarily? Of course. Great whites are amazing animals. We've learned so much about marine ecosystems by observing them in their natural habitat. Some of our researchers have been studying the same individual sharks for decades. The conversation continued, but the council team was struggling to process what they were hearing. Humans weren't hiding from apex predators. They were studying them, swimming with them. The power dynamic was completely reversed from what their scans had suggested. Captain Thyson called for a private conference with his senior staff. Something is very wrong with our assessment, he said. Either these humans are the most elaborate liars in galactic history, or we've completely misunderstood this planet's ecosystem. Dr. Kelmori pulled up the orbital scans again. What if we made incorrect assumptions based on our initial readings? What if the humans really are the dominant species? Dr. Zethara shook her head. But look at them. They're small, weak, unarmored. They have no natural weapons. How could they possibly dominate creatures that outweigh them by thousands of pounds and have evolved specifically for hunting and killing? That's what we need to find out, Captain Thyssen decided. We're going to send down observation teams. We need to see this planet's ecosystem with our own eyes. The team prepared for surface observations while continuing their communications with Ambassador Chen. The humans had invited them to visit Earth personally. They offered to show the council team around their cities and explain how human civilization worked. We're very excited to meet representatives of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Chen had said. This is a historic moment for our species. We've always wondered if we were alone in the universe. As Dr. Zethara prepared the observation mission, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something fundamental about Earth. The humans seemed genuinely friendly and open. They answered every question honestly and provided detailed information about their world. But if humans really were the dominant species on this death world, it raised disturbing questions about what they were truly capable of. Creatures that could dominate apex predators while appearing so harmless might be far more dangerous than anything the Council had ever encountered. The survey team, prepared to discover the truth about Earth's mysterious ecosystem. None of them were prepared for what they would find on the surface. Dr. Zethara stepped out of the shuttle onto solid ground for the first time since arriving at Earth. The air was thick with moisture and strange scents that her translator couldn't identify. Above her, the blue sky stretched endlessly, so different from the controlled environments of Council ships and stations. The atmospheric readings are stable, reported Dr. Kelmori, who had insisted on wearing a full environmental suit despite the humans' assurances that the air was safe. But I'm detecting pheromone traces from multiple predator species in the immediate area. They had landed at what the humans called a research station near Earth's largest ocean. Ambassador Chen had arranged for them to observe human interactions with the planet's marine apex predators. The Council team expected to see humans cowering in fortified shelters while deadly creatures prowled outside. Instead, they found humans walking around casually in the open air. "Welcome to the Monterey Bay Research Institute," said Dr. Martinez, a human wearing simple clothes that offered no protection against predator attacks. "We're honored to show you around our facility." Captain Thyssen's forearms moved nervously as he scanned the area. "Where are your defensive barriers? Your security systems? Our readings show multiple apex predators in these waters." Dr. Martinez smiled. An expression the Council team was learning meant friendliness rather than aggression. "You mean the Great Whites? They're here, but they're not a threat to our operations. Would you like to see them?" Before anyone could object, Dr. Martinez led them to what appeared to be a viewing area overlooking the ocean. The water below was crystal clear, and swimming in it were the massive predators the Council's sensors had detected from orbit. "That's Deep Blue," Dr. Martinez said, pointing to a shark over 20 feet long. "She's one of the largest great whites we've documented, probably over 50 years old." Dr. Zethara's skin turned pale with fear as she watched the enormous predator glide through the water. The creature was pure muscle and teeth, designed by evolution to kill, and yet humans were standing here in the open, completely unprotected, calmly discussing it like it was harmless. "How are you not terrified?" she whispered. Dr. Martinez looked genuinely confused. "Terrified? Why would we be terrified? Great whites are incredible animals. They're perfectly adapted to their environment. We've been studying Deep Blue for almost a decade now." As if summoned by their conversation, a small boat approached from the direction of the massive shark. Dr. Zethara watched in horror as the boat stopped directly next to the apex predator. A human wearing a simple breathing apparatus jumped into the water. "Is that human committing suicide?" Dr. Kelmori asked, her voice shaking. "What? No, that's Dr. Susan Park. She's conducting a behavioral study. She's probably the world's leading expert on great white social interactions." The Council team watched in stunned silence as the human swam directly toward the massive predator. The shark, which could have swallowed the human in a single bite, instead allowed the researcher to swim alongside it. The human even reached out and touched the creature's flank. Captain Thyssen's legs nearly gave out. "This is impossible. Apex predators don't tolerate close contact from other species. They attack anything that enters their territory." "Actually, great whites are quite intelligent," Dr. Martinez explained. "They recognize individual humans and remember positive interactions. Dr. Park has been swimming with Deep Blue for years. They have a relationship based on mutual respect. The human researcher spent nearly an hour in the water with multiple sharks before returning to the boat. When she arrived back at the research station, she greeted the alien visitors with enthusiasm. "Amazing creatures," Dr. Park said, still dripping seawater. "Each shark has a distinct personality. Deep Blue is particularly curious about new experiences. She seemed interested in your ship's acoustic signature." Dr. Zethara found herself unable to speak. Everything she knew about predator behavior suggested that what she had just witnessed was impossible. Apex predators were territorial, aggressive, and deadly. They didn't form relationships with other species. They certainly didn't allow weaker creatures to touch them. The tour continued throughout the day, and each new observation made the council team more confused. They visited a facility where humans studied captured sharks in large tanks. The predators swam calmly while humans walked around the edges, taking measurements and collecting samples. "Don't they ever attack?" Dr. Kelmary asked. "Very rarely," explained Dr. Kim, another researcher. "Sharks attack humans by mistake sometimes, usually when visibility is poor or when they confuse a human for their natural prey. But actual predatory attacks are extremely uncommon." The concept of mistaken attacks was foreign to the council team. On every other world they had studied, apex predators attacked anything that wasn't their own species. The idea that these creatures might be restrained enough to make mistakes suggested a level of behavioral sophistication that shouldn't exist in simple predators. That evening, the aliens were taken to what humans called a public aquarium. Here, hundreds of humans wandered around looking at various marine creatures through transparent barriers. Children pressed their faces against glass walls while massive sharks swam inches away. "The younglings aren't afraid," Dr. Zethara observed, watching human children laugh and point at the predators. "Kids love sharks," said their guide. "We run educational programs to teach them about marine conservation. Many of these children will grow up to become marine biologists themselves." The council team learned that humans didn't just study apex predators, they actively worked to protect them. The concept of conservation was explained to them as humans deliberately preserving and maintaining populations of creatures that could kill them. "But why?" Captain Tyson asked. "Why preserve dangerous predators?" "Because they're an essential part of the ecosystem," Dr. Martinez explained. "Remove apex predators and the entire food web becomes unstable. Plus, they're magnificent creatures that deserve to exist for their own sake." Dr. Zethara's skin cycled through colors of deep confusion. Humans weren't just unafraid of apex predators. They were actively ensuring their survival. This level of confidence suggested either complete insanity or a level of dominance so absolute that humans could afford to be generous to potential threats. The next day brought even more disturbing observations. They visited a facility where humans interacted with land-based apex predators. Bears, large cats, and other predators lived in what humans called wildlife preserves. "That's Ursa," said the park ranger, pointing to a massive brown bear. "She was orphaned as a cub and raised by our staff. She's particularly fond of Dr. Johnson." Dr. Johnson, a small human female, approached the enormous bear carrying a bucket of food. The bear, which stood nearly 12 feet tall and weighed over 800 pounds, greeted the human like a friend. It even allowed the human to scratch behind its ears. "The rapport between human and predator is unprecedented," Dr. Kelmary whispered. Security Chief Crickstall, who had joined the observation team, was studying everything with growing alarm. His species had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had never encountered anything like this. "Captain, we need to reassess the threat level of this species." "What threat?" Captain Tyson asked. "They seem completely peaceful." "That's exactly what makes them dangerous," Crickstall replied. "A species that can dominate apex predators so completely that they treat them as companions is operating on a level of power we don't understand." The council team spent another week on Earth, visiting different research facilities and conservation areas. Everywhere they went, they found the same pattern: humans living and working alongside creatures that should have been their worst enemies. The predators seemed not just tolerant of human presence, but actively cooperative. At a tiger preserve in Asia, they watched humans hand-feeding massive cats through protective barriers. At a crocodile research station in Australia, they saw humans tagging 20-foot reptiles for tracking studies. Each observation reinforced the same impossible reality. "The humans have achieved something that shouldn't be possible," Dr. Zethara reported to the ship during their evening briefing. They've established peaceful coexistence with every apex predator on their planet. But as the days passed, small details began to accumulate that painted a more complex picture. The humans spoke casually about pest control and population management. They mentioned historical extinctions and hunting pressures, terms that suggested a much more complicated relationship between humans and other species. Dr. Zethara began to suspect that the peaceful interactions they were observing weren't the complete story. There was something about human history and capability that they weren't seeing, something that explained how such small, weak creatures had achieved absolute dominance over a world full of apex predators. The answer, when it came, would shake the very foundations of everything the Galactic Council thought they knew about planetary ecosystems and predator hierarchies. Dr. Zethara found the first clue in what humans called a natural history museum. She had been exploring the building with Dr. Thompson, a human paleontologist, when they stopped in front of a massive skeleton display. "This is a Tyrannosaurus rex," Dr. Thompson explained, "one of the largest land predators that ever lived on Earth. 40 feet long, 7 tons of muscle and bone. With teeth like railroad spikes, Dr. Zethara studied the enormous skull with its rows of blade-like teeth. Where did this apex predator go? Do any still exist in remote areas of your planet?" Dr. Thompson shook his head. "Oh no, they went extinct about 65 million years ago, long before humans evolved." "Extinct?" Dr. Zethara's skin flickered with confusion. "You mean they died out naturally?" "Well, not exactly naturally. They were killed by a massive asteroid impact. But if humans had been around back then, we probably would have hunted them too." The casual way Dr. Thompson mentioned hunting creatures like this made Dr. Zethara's skin turn alarmed yellow. "Hunted them? But they're enormous predators." "Sure, but humans are persistence hunters. We would have figured out a way. We always do." Dr. Zethara requested access to human historical records that evening. What she found in their databases made her skin cycle through colors of increasing alarm. Humans had detailed records of something they called megafauna extinctions that coincided with human expansion across their planet. Massive ground sloths, cave bears larger than any modern bear, saber-toothed cats with fangs longer than a human hand, giant wolves, enormous reptiles. All of them had disappeared from Earth's fossil record at exactly the same time humans had arrived in each region. "Dr. Thompson," she said the next morning, "these extinction events in your historical records, they seem to follow human migration patterns." Dr. Thompson nodded matter-of-factly. "Oh yes, early humans were incredibly effective hunters. We drove most of the megafauna to extinction within a few thousand years of reaching new continents. But these creatures were apex predators, much larger and stronger than humans. Size doesn't matter when you have tools, teamwork, and persistence. Early humans could track a mammoth for days, wearing it down until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then they'd move in for the kill with spears and fire." Dr. Zethara accessed more human records. The pattern was undeniable. Wherever humans had migrated, the largest and most dangerous predators had vanished. Giant bears, massive cats, enormous crocodiles, all extinct within millennia of human arrival. "What about the current apex predators?" she asked. "The sharks, bears, and large cats we've been observing?" Dr. Thompson's expression became more serious. "Those are the survivors, the species that adapted to coexist with humans or the ones we decided to protect. But we could eliminate them too if we wanted to." The word could hung in the air like a threat. Dr. Zethara realized that all the peaceful interactions she had witnessed weren't signs of equal coexistence. They were acts of deliberate restraint by a species capable of total domination. That afternoon, she visited what humans called a zoo with Dr. Kim from the research station. The facility contained apex predators from around the world, all living in artificial environments designed by humans. "How did you capture all these predators?" Dr. Zethara asked, watching a massive tiger pace behind transparent barriers. "We didn't capture these individuals," Dr. Kim explained. "These animals were all born in captivity. Their ancestors were captured decades ago, but these tigers have lived their entire lives in human care. They don't try to escape? Where would they go? The areas where their species evolved are mostly gone now. Urban development, agriculture, and habitat conversion have eliminated most natural tiger territory. These animals are probably safer here than they would be in the wild." Dr. Zethara's skin turned a sickly green as she processed this information. Humans hadn't just defeated Earth's apex predators, they had reshaped the entire planet to serve human purposes. The predators now existed only where humans allowed them to exist. What about the oceans? She asked. Surely the marine predators still control their own territory. Dr. Kim laughed. Have you seen our fishing fleets? We take millions of tons of fish from the oceans every year. If we wanted to eliminate sharks, we could do it in a few decades. We've already driven some species to near extinction by accident. By accident? Commercial fishing operations sometimes catch sharks as bycatch. We've had to implement careful regulations to prevent overfishing. The ocean ecosystems depend on us being responsible stewards. The word stewards revealed the true nature of human dominance. They weren't coexisting with apex predators as equals. They had assumed the role of planetary managers, deciding which species lived and which died. Dr. Zathara accessed human military records that evening. What she found made her skin turn colors she didn't know she was capable of producing. Human weapons technology was beyond anything the Council had expected from a primitive world. They had devices that could kill from vast distances, explosives that could level entire forests, chemical weapons that could eliminate all life in targeted areas. They had even developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. We've had the capability to render Earth uninhabitable for over 70 years. Ambassador Chen explained when asked about it directly. Nuclear weapons could eliminate most life on the planet within hours. But why would you develop such weapons? Initially for warfare against other humans. But the technology exists now and we've chosen not to use it. We prefer diplomatic solutions to conflicts. Dr. Zathara realized that humans weren't just apex predators. They were so far beyond apex predators that they had moved into a category that didn't exist in Council classification systems. They were planetary dominators who had achieved such complete control that they could afford to be gentle with lesser species. The next day, she accompanied a human family to what they called a pet store. Inside, she witnessed something that shattered her remaining assumptions about Earth's ecosystem. This is Max, said the human child, holding a creature that the store labeled as descended from wolves. Dr. Zathara stared at the animal in the child's arms. According to her scanners, wolves were major predators, pack hunters capable of bringing down prey much larger than themselves. Yet this creature had been reduced to a companion animal for human offspring. You've domesticated apex predators? Oh yes, said the store owner. Dogs were the first species we domesticated about 15,000 years ago. We've bred them into hundreds of different varieties for different purposes. The store contained dozens of different dog breeds, each one genetically modified by humans for specific traits. Some had been bred for hunting other animals, some for guarding human territory. Some existed purely as companions for human children. We've domesticated lots of species, the store owner continued. Cats, horses, cattle, pigs, chickens, even some exotic animals like foxes and ferrets. Dr. Zathara watched human children playing with creatures that had once been wild predators. The animals showed complete submission to human authority. They had been genetically altered over thousands of years to serve human purposes. That evening, she made a disturbing discovery in human cultural records. Humans didn't just dominate other species through superior technology. They consumed them as food. Beef, pork, chicken, fish, Dr. Thompson explained when she asked about human diet. We've industrialized food production from animal sources. We raise billions of animals specifically for consumption. You eat apex predators? Well, cattle and pigs aren't exactly apex predators, but we do eat some predator species. Shark fin soup is considered a delicacy in some cultures, though we're trying to discourage that because of conservation concerns. Dr. Zathara's skin turned black with horror. Humans weren't just dominating apex predators. They were consuming them as casual meals. Species that could terrorize entire regions of other worlds were reduced to ingredients in human cuisine. The final revelation came when she accessed human entertainment media, movies, books, and games where humans portrayed themselves fighting against monsters far more dangerous than Earth's current apex predators. Dragons, giant aliens, mythical beasts with impossible powers. These are fantasies, Dr. Thompson explained. We create stories about fighting creatures that don't exist because our real predators aren't challenging enough anymore. Dr. Zathara understood now why humans seemed so peaceful and friendly. They had achieved such complete dominance over their planet that actual apex predators had become objects of study, protection, and entertainment. The only threats dangerous enough to interest humans were imaginary ones. Earth's true apex predator had been hiding in plain sight. Not the sharks, bears, or big cats that the Council had initially identified. The real apex predator was the small, soft, seemingly harmless species that had conquered every other form of life on the planet, so thoroughly that they could afford to be gentle with the survivors. Humans weren't the peaceful prey species they appeared to be. They were the most successful predators in Earth's history, so successful that they had transcended the need for traditional predatory behavior. They had become planetary gardeners, tending to the remnants of species they had already defeated. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 3 days after Dr. Zethara's report reached the main fleet. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall aboard the flagship Harmony of Worlds. The tension in the chamber was unlike anything seen since the Hive War crisis 50 years earlier. Council Superior Vexthan, an ancient being whose species had founded the Council itself, called for order with movements of his crystalline appendages. "We are here to discuss the Earth situation. Dr. Zethara, present your findings." Dr. Zethara's skin cycled through nervous purple hues as she addressed the assembly. "Honored Council members, we have made a critical error in our assessment of the species known as humans. They are not the peaceful prey species we initially believed." A ripple of concerned sounds echoed through the chamber. Species that communicated through clicks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses all expressed alarm in their own ways. "Our standard classification protocols failed completely," Dr. Zethara continued. "Humans are not just apex predators. They represent a category of planetary dominance that our xenobiology models never anticipated." Ambassador Krillox of the warrior caste stood up, his armored exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. "One small world cannot possibly threaten the Galactic Council. Their technology appears primitive compared to our capabilities." "That is where you are wrong," Dr. Zethara replied. "Human technology may appear primitive, but their strategic thinking and biological capabilities are beyond our experience. They have achieved total planetary dominance through methods we never considered." She activated the holographic display system and showed images from Earth. The Council members watched footage of humans casually interacting with creatures that could kill most Council species with ease. "What you are seeing is not coexistence," Dr. Zethara explained. "This is a display of absolute confidence by a species that has already won total victory over every potential threat on their planet." Security Chief Krixtal stepped forward to address the assembly. "Council members, I have reviewed all available data on human capabilities. Their individual physical specifications are indeed unimpressive. However, their collective achievements suggest strategic thinking that surpasses most Council member species." The holographic display shifted to show human cities, technology, and historical records. Humans eliminated their planet's megafauna within millennia of their expansion. They domesticated potential predators into servant species. They developed weapons capable of destroying their entire world, then chose not to use them. Council Superior Vexthan's crystalline structure shifted to reflect deep thought. "The implications are disturbing. If humans can achieve such dominance over their own planet, what might they accomplish if they expand beyond it?" Dr. Kelmori activated her translation matrix and addressed the assembly. "Council members, there is another factor to consider. Humans demonstrate unprecedented restraint for a species of their capabilities. They could eliminate all other life on their planet, but they actively work to preserve it instead. Restraint can be more dangerous than aggression," observed Elder Thisara of the Ancient Ones. "A species that chooses mercy has the option to choose otherwise." Ambassador Chen's transmission arrived at that moment, as if summoned by their discussion. Her image appeared on the main display, smiling with the expression humans use to indicate friendliness. "Greetings, honored Council members. I understand you're discussing Earth's potential membership in the Galactic Council. We're very excited about the possibility of joining your organization." The chamber fell silent. Every Council member stared at the human ambassador with new understanding. This wasn't a prey species requesting protection. This was a potential peer, possibly a superior offering to join their organization. Council Superior Vexthan spoke carefully. "Ambassador Chen, we are reassessing our initial contact protocols. Your species appears to have capabilities that we did not fully appreciate." Ambassador Chen's smile widened. "Thank you for recognizing that. We understand there may have been some confusion about Earth's ecosystem. We're happy to clarify any questions you might have about human civilization. Dr. Zethara leaned forward. Ambassador, our records suggest that humans have eliminated numerous species from your planet. How do you reconcile this with your stated peaceful intentions? That's a complex historical question, Ambassador Chen replied. Early human expansion did result in extinctions, primarily due to competition for resources and habitats. However, modern humans have developed conservation ethics specifically to prevent future extinctions. But you retain the capability for such actions? Ambassador Chen paused for a moment, her expression becoming more serious. Dr. Zethara, any advanced species retains the capability for both creation and destruction. The measure of a civilization is not what it can do, but what it chooses to do. The diplomatic implications of that statement sent waves of concern through the council chamber. Humans were subtly acknowledging their destructive capabilities while positioning themselves as a mature civilization that had chosen restraint. Elder Thaisara spoke for the Ancient Ones. Ambassador Chen, what are humanity's intentions regarding expansion beyond Earth? We're very interested in peaceful exploration and collaboration with other intelligent species, Ambassador Chen replied. Earth has taught us the importance of sustainable development and species cooperation. We would bring those values to any interstellar community we join. Security Chief Krixtal exchanged concerned glances with other military representatives. The humans were positioning themselves not as junior members seeking guidance, but as experienced planetary managers offering their expertise to the galactic community. There is another matter, Dr. Zethara said. Humans appear to view your apex predators the way most species view companion animals. How do humans perceive the Council's member species? Ambassador Chen's expression showed genuine thought. That's an interesting question. Based on the biological and technological data we've received, most Council species appear to be roughly equivalent to Earth's apex predators in terms of individual capabilities. Perhaps slightly more advanced in some areas. The chamber erupted in alarmed sounds. Ambassador Chen had just casually compared the entire Galactic Council to Earth's wildlife. I hope that doesn't sound dismissive, Ambassador Chen added quickly. Earth's apex predators are magnificent creatures that we deeply respect. We've learned so much from studying them, and we work very hard to ensure their continued well-being. Council Superior Vexthon's crystalline structure began cycling through colors that indicated deep alarm. The human ambassador had just described the Galactic Council's member species, the way humans described animals in zoos. Ambassador Chen, he said carefully, perhaps we should discuss the specific terms of Earth's potential council membership. Of course, we're thinking that a senior advisory position might be appropriate, given humanity's experience with planetary ecosystem management. We could share our knowledge of sustainable development and interspecies cooperation. The humans weren't asking to join the council as junior members. They were offering to take a leadership role in galactic civilization. Dr. Zethara spoke up. What makes humans qualified for such a position? Well, we've successfully managed a planetary ecosystem containing thousands of potentially dangerous species for several millennia, Ambassador Chen explained. We've developed technologies for sustainable resource extraction, population management, and environmental preservation. Plus, we've maintained global peace for over 70 years despite possessing weapons capable of planetary destruction. The list of human qualifications sounded like requirements for council membership rather than achievements of a newly discovered species. Council Superior Vexton called for a brief recess to allow the council members to process this information. When the session reconvened, the entire dynamic had changed. Ambassador Chen, he announced, the Galactic Council would be honored to offer humanity a senior advisory position in our organization. We believe your species' experience with planetary management could benefit the entire galactic community. Thank you, Ambassador Chen replied. We accept, and we look forward to working with all Council species to ensure galactic stability and prosperity. As the transmission ended, the Council chamber remained silent for several minutes. Finally, Elder Thaisara spoke what everyone was thinking. We have just offered a senior position to a species that views us the way we view domesticated animals. Security Chief Krixtal nodded grimly, and they accepted it the way a zookeeper accepts responsibility for managing dangerous animals. Dr. Zethara's skin had turned a pale shade of realization. Council members, I believe we have just discovered what it means to be a truly advanced species. Humans have moved beyond the need to prove their dominance. They simply assume it and proceed with benevolent management of lesser species. Lesser species, Council Superior Vexthon repeated quietly, including us. The Galactic Council had achieved something unprecedented in their history. They had encountered a species so advanced that it made them feel like children playing at civilization. Humans didn't need to conquer or intimidate. They simply existed with such casual competence that other species naturally deferred to their